Pale and dry hopped. Is it even a tide? Hey, it's Brainmuffin back with a beer review and a camera that's really off kilter thanks to the dogs. So we have an Eventide Brewing Pale Ale Dry Hopped. Now when I tried this beer not too long ago, because I got 2 cans of this from Nick Utam down in Atlanta, I didn't notice that the best buy date was the 4th of August, which is actually before I acquired this beer. So I really don't have high hopes this one's going to be any better. It has been in my refrigerator for over a month. In all fairness, Nick came up here for Horror Hound. We picked up Jeff, we drove to Indianapolis, and I came back and I probably got ill. Because I was going to review these the next week, and I got con crud that just still here it is, almost October, and it still won't go away. So this is handcrafted ale made at, so anyway, this beer should be good. But the thing with pale ales, is, in particular when they're dry hopped, and this is like 5%, yeah, 6.2% alcohol. When they're low in alcohol like this, and they're not like say 7.5, 8, especially when they're 8 and 9, where the alcohol pulls the hops out on secondary and really holds onto it, these beers are quite fragile. So they're very susceptible to heat. They're susceptible to light. Now, in a can, you won't have the problem with the light, but you do have the heat and age. All of them counteract. They all work against a very delicate pale ale. And I think this is what's happened, at least the other can that I opened. So I got it old, and it's now almost a month beyond that. Actually, more than a month beyond that, because that would have been September, almost 2 months beyond it. So I really don't know what, I gave this a 3 the last time I had it, which was several weeks ago. And I really don't know if I'm going to be able to give it a better result because it's aged almost 2 months past its expiration or its best buy date. Now some beers do age well, but most beers that age well are in the 10% or more category. There's a handful that are in the 8 to 9%. And so what's happened is the very delicate hop florals have oxidized, and they're noticeable. Many times I'll say this beer tastes like it's rusty, and that's really just a generalization on the oxidization of the beer itself. So we'll see. My friends overall have given it a 3 1/4, so this is not a great beer to start with. And then with this 2 months aged past its good date, we'll see what happens. Now about 3 weeks ago I tried this and I gave it a 3, and I've been busy on the weekends and I haven't been able to do any beer reviews. And so what's happened, yeah, it's still the same. So what's happened is the dry hopness feels kind of dirty and gritty. And then the hop backbone is a little bit, the malt backbone is a little bit more noticeable than it should be. And then there's this very latent bitterness. It's really not a good bitterness. It's kind of this gritty bitterness that's just kind of there to spite you. And that's the problem with beers. I've had home brews that have done this, that have gone past, say 3 or 4 months past bottling. And it depends if they bright tank this or if they naturally carbonated and then they canned, or if they naturally carbonated in the can. There's not a lot of an air gap in the can, so quite often if they're going to naturally carbonate before they can. Now if this was in a bottle, it would probably naturally carbonate in the bottle. Ellie, sit down. Well, almost done. Just give me a moment. Good grief. So this tastes like a decent beer that's just gone south on me. I mean, overall, this is okay. It's not great. And, I've had some Eventide stuff before that was pretty good. And this kind of is heartbreaking, because this beer fresher is probably much better. It's probably more closer to a 4. But it shows in my mind a beer that's aged poorly and it still can hold a 3, maybe a 2 1/4 if I really want to get persnickety. Shows that it was a good beer before I got it. And I'm not complaining. Look, it's not Nick's fault that this beer got to me late and then I got sick and then I didn't get to this beer. It's really possible if I would have gotten this within a few days that he brought it up here, it would have been fine. But it's been nearly 2 months, and that's my fault. So, Nick, this is not a castigation of you or anything. I appreciate you bringing these things up. This is great to get some beers from Atlanta, because we don't get them up here through natural distribution. And it's good. I mean, I've had some really great craft beers from the Atlanta area, and this tastes like it should be one before August 4th. So, I mean, we're almost to October 4th. It's almost 8 weeks past. And it's still a decent beer. This is not a beer I'm going to go chuck out. I'm going to let it warm up some. I have some other stuff to finish, but I'm going to still hold to my solid 3. And I'm going to try and get a fresher can of this and try it. Now, what I've noticed with dry hopping, quite often when it's whole hops, I pick up the gritty and dirtiness of the hop. I don't know why, and this has been a multiple breweries that have done this. The only ones that haven't, was it Rogue or what? Or was it Anderson Valley? It's one of them either in California or the Northwest, where they wet hopped it, where the hops hadn't been a chance to dry out. They basically take them right off the hops and they throw them in the secondary. That I like. The dry hopping with pellets, I've even done it on my own. I've done between pellets and I've done whole hops. And I like the pellets much better than the whole hops. I get the same dirtiness from the whole hop of my own beer, so I can't really fault the brewery for that. But right now, 2 months past the good date, this is still a solid 3. It's a decent beer. Have a nice, bacon cheeseburger with mushrooms with this stuff, a nice fat sweet potato fries. And this will go fine, but I really, really want to try this beer again, and I want it fresher. So I'm going to try and make arrangements, find out when they make this. It might be a seasonal, I don't know, but I'll find out. All right, have you had the Eventide Pale Ale Dry Hop beer when it was fresh? Do you think a 3 is still being generous? You think this is a 5 out of 5? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for sharing, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye. Where? You've got to be kidding me. It'll never see it. Who in the world? Oh, you don't. All right, I'll get you water as soon as I'm done. Okay? That way you can be drinking while I'm tearing down. I know you're thirsty. We'll get it. Man, that thing looks crooked. Sit down, Ellie. We'll get it in a minute.